This conference will now be recorded.
Tonight we're going to talk about the next two cases, in some way the final two cases, the genitive and the dative. The genitive and the dative cases are a little bit more important exegetically than the ones we covered last week, and you're going to notice that there's a little bit more of a variance in exactly how you can render these. So, in English, the two different ways you can say something is possessive is you can say it's the blank of blank, or you can add an apostrophe S, as you can see here with Book of Bill or Bill's book. The indirect object is indirectly related and does not receive the action. And you can almost always add the word to help clarify a particular indirect object. For example, Karen threw Brad a ball. If we would have said Karen threw a ball to Brad, it would mean more or less exactly the same thing. Whenever we use an indirect object, we're going to be using the objective case, which is the same that we used with the direct object. In Greek, the virtual equivalent to the possessive case is the genitive. The genitive, we'll go through the case endings later. They are, in our order, going to be the second ones that you list when going vertically. A genitive modifies a head noun. So a head noun is whatever it's modifying. So you see here, theou would be of God. So if I said namas theou, that would be this sentence here, actually. Namus will be laws of God. Okay, so you're going to primarily use the keyword of. The Greek dative is the virtual equivalence to the English indirect object. There's a little bit more variance here, as you can see, to, in, or with. The problem with this sometimes becomes, well, which one is it? Most of the time, those are the cases that you have several papers and books and that sort of thing written about. A good example Okay, what are some common translations you guys have seen to insert there into the blank?
In. Yeah.
Okay, I've seen in. I've seen with. Anyone seen anything different? Okay, these are the two that I've seen. Why is there a difference? Well, this entire thing is really one word in Greek. Okay. I think the accent ends up there. I don't have that one memorized, but oh, I did misspell it though. So this entire phrase here is represented by this one word. And you can see if all of these are acceptable, why you'd have just a little bit of variance. There is generally some directional ideas going along with this. So 2 would be in their direction. N would be a direction from from the actual person toward themselves. And with would be a direction between two different people. I think I mentioned this in the people who took the class over the summer. They're in the 8-case system, which we're not really doing. They actually divide this up. They say that there is a dative and there's a locative. So the ends go in the locative, and the twos and the withs are true datives. That's not a form thing, that's more of a classification thing in the 8-case system. But it does help you get an idea that whenever you see these, there's kind of two different ways that they're being used. And the whole question with making melody in or with the heart comes down to, do you find it to be something that's more of a dative in regard to sphere, or do you think it's a locative? Okay. It can also be the indirect object with just the simple idea of 2, and sometimes it's built into the way that the particular sentence is structured, and you don't have to add the word 2. But you can easily see, if you brought this to the end, he would give living water to you. It doesn't really change the meaning of the word or sentence, sorry. And it has this iota subscript, which we'll come back to in a second. All right, so this is the complete paradigm. As soon as the computer catches up to me. Okay. So this is a complete paradigm singular. I'm not going to have you unmute your mics because I'm afraid the computer will crash, but I still want you to say this along with me. All right, we're going to do the individual columns. Lagos, lagu, lago, lagon. Graphe, graphes, graphe, graphane. Hora, horas, horai, horai. The dog completely screws up this. Hey, be quiet. Ergon, ergu, ergo, ergon. Okay, so this is the complete paradigm in the singular. You'll notice, we'll come back to this in a second, the lagu, you see the u, an ergu, you'll see an lago and an ergo. One of the noun rules we're going to learn tonight is that the genitive and the dative are the same in all second declension words. So the masculine and the neuter end up having the same ending. The plurals, lagoi, lagon, lagois, lagus. Graphai, graphone, graphais, graphos. Erga, ergon, ergois, erga. You will notice that once again, the second declension have the same endings, and actually, all of them have the same endings in the genitive and dative in the plural. We add the articles for the genitive and dative. I thought there was one place here later. Okay. And I don't know if you picked up on this, the endings of the article are very similar to the regular endings with the different case endings. All right. So we're going to do some more of the noun rules. These are the last ones until we get to the third declension. In the dative singular, the iota subscripts if possible. Anybody remember how you pronounce an iota subscript?
You don't.
Anybody?
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
You don't pronounce it.
Yes, it's silent. So you can see here, all of these are pronounced just as if that was the ending. Okay. Rule number 5. Vowels often change their length. Particularly what he's pointing out here is an omicron to omega shift. We're going to see that quite a bit. There also are alpha to eta shifts, and sometimes there are epsilon to eta shifts. All right, and this is the one that I was mentioning. In the genitive and dative, the masculine and the neuter will always be identical as far as case endings go. This next slide isn't quite as important, but it kind of plays to a rule that I talked about before. So some words are partially declined. What that means is it changes its form some, but it doesn't go through the full declension the way it normally would. As you can see here, the genitive and dative are the same. We know that this is a dative based upon the article. It tells us that it's dative, even though in form it looks just like the genitive. It also points out here that there are a few other things that are considered in the first declension. For right now, this isn't terribly important, but epsilon, iota, and rho can sometimes be first declension words. And this rule I'll go over it in the future. It has to do with the way that certain things, whether or not the eta and the alpha will change. For right now, I wouldn't worry too much about that, but you can see here that words with the eta, iota in a row are the ones that have some certain changes that happen. Like I said, don't worry about that for right now. I'll probably talk about it when we're going over the homework. Okay. Talk about that a little bit already. So, some translation stuff. Sorry, I'm trying to go through this fast, but when I finish the recording, I'm going to go back and talk about it a little bit more. I just want all of this on the recording before it messes up. So look for keywords and use your keywords. So the of for the genitive, to, in, with the dative. And the easiest way to figure out which one it's supposed to be is just try them all. And a lot of times there will be multiple correct words. Okay. Look for genitives first. A lot of times the genitive will, you kind of want to put them in one group. So modified. Well, let's use his words. Head noun and genitive. Try to keep those together so that whenever you start doing the translation, everything will come out and look the right way. Because you're going to end up using the genitive either like a possessive or like a modifier. Okay. I'm going to go through the vocabulary and then I'm going to go back and walk us through the paradigm more slowly. Okay. Hamartia. Hamartia means sin. Arche. Arche means start or beginning. Gar. Gar means for. Apen. Apen is he, she, or it said. Ace. For right now, I want you to know that ace means into. We'll talk about that a little bit more whenever we get to the preposition chapter, but there's a little bit more to it than that. Exousia. Exousia means authority. I've also seen it translated as majesty. It's a favorite word of Mark. Euangelion, my personal favorite Greek word. Euangelion means good news or gospel. Jesus. Jesus means Jesus. Kurios. Kurios means Lord. May. May means not. Uranos. Uranos means heaven or heavens. Just something to know. A lot of times when heaven is in the plural, we still translate it as just heaven. Generally, heavens is used to refer to things like in 2 Corinthians where Paul talks about ascending to the third heaven. It's usually when in Hebrew literature when talking about that sort of idea. Hutas, haute, tuta. In the singular is this. In the plural is those. Su. Su means you. Huios. Huios means son. Hoste. Hoste. I've seen it translated both as thus and therefore. I can't remember which one that Mounts wants you to memorize, but I'll make sure you guys get that sheet. Okay.